Thank you for hearing me coming to the meeting. My name is Courtney Brown. I'm a social scientist and mathematician. I'm a mathematician who works in a social science program at Emory University. What I do there is my day job. Mathematics is what I teach. The stuff I do outside of my day job is done at the Farsight Institute, and that's not affiliated with Emory University. And what I'm about to present to you today was not done at Emory University, but was done at the Farsight Institute. I have two websites that would be useful for background information. One is the Farsight Institute's website, www.farsight.org, and courtneybrown.com. Today's talk, Quantum Mechanics, Remote Viewing, and Time, is related to an experiment by John Wheeler. It's called the delayed choice experiment, but done in a macro environment using remote viewing. The theory behind this is much more broad than I can present in 15 minutes, but it is available in this book, Remote Viewing, the Science and Theory of Non-Physical Perception. That was a result of about 10 years' work. The book covers a great deal of theory that is not in the sci literature. It was an attempt to try to explain certain types of phenomena that we were seeing when we used remote viewing in certain experimental designs. These experiments led us to an understanding that consciousness, quantum mechanics, physics, physical reality was different than either classical or strictly quantum theories that were current in the paradigms allowed to happen. So we investigated. We started recently, in January, something called a climate project. This is a new project, a new set of experiments, different from the ones that are talked about in the book, but the book lays the basis for the climate project. We wanted to see if remote viewing could be done to detect things as different as climate change over a 5-year period. For this, we used 2 time points, June 1st, 2008, June 1st, 2013. 3 methodologies of remote viewing were used: CRV, controlled remote viewing, under the guidance of Lynn Buchanan; HRVG, Hawaiian Remote Viewing Guild, under the guidance of Glenn Wheaton; and SRV, Scientific Remote Viewing, which is what we examine, take apart, and do things with at the Farsight Institute. 9 remote viewers in total were used across all of the methodologies. Scientific controls were done that were different than that which you see often in other psi experiments. For our experiments, we used encryption, 256-bit encryption, and this encryption is used to do the remote viewing sessions, encrypt them, take the targets, encrypt them, and other important documents, encrypt them, put them up on the web for literally tens of thousands of people around the world to download, and so that we can control the experiment in that way. We also used 8 geographical locations across the planet that were accessible with Google Earth. In 2013, we have 2 timelines. I am not going to be talking about the 2 timelines. It was an experiment in time. That will come perhaps at next year's conference. What I'm going to be talking about is what happened with our results for 2008, June 1st. We have 8 geographical locations. Let me just quickly go over what they are. Vaitupu, Tuvalu is actually right there next to this concentrated population center, was the center. These are all Google Earth pictures. Fort Jesus in Mombasa, Kenya. Ruins surrounded by Old Town Mombasa, lots of shacks, and over to the farther left here, west, is big skyscrapers. A mixture of all types of buildings are there. You all know that. The Sydney Opera House, Mount Kilimanjaro, Congress, the U.S. Congress Building, the Malé International Airport in the Maldives. I couldn't resist this one. This is KITV. One of the remote viewers in the project was Dick Algeier, the Walter Cronkite of Hawaii, and that's where he works, the KITV building. He's a TV news announcer in Honolulu. You all know that, the Vehicle Assembly Building, Complex 39, Kennedy Space Center. There are three ways that tasking is done. Tasking is when you say, I've got a target, I'm tasking you, you're the remote viewer, you go out and do it, find out what I have as a target. Scenario one is that the target time is in the past. I want you to remote view something, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's the Mona Lisa, the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower a long time ago. Okay, it already happened. Or the Battle of Gettysburg. Or the launching of a space shuttle, something that happened in the past. You see, it's in the past. But now is when I'm tasking it, and that remote viewer is going to then go somewhere and then later do the session. That's the normal sequence. Now, when I say I'm talking to the remote viewer, that doesn't happen. What we actually do is an email or a fax gets sent to the remote viewer so they can't hear your voice or see you, and they say, a target exists, go remote view it. That's normal. We don't do that at the Farsight Institute very much. It's just boring. The other one is where the tasking time is now, and the remote viewing time and the target time are in the future. That says, the person who's tasking says, I want them to remote view what Vladimir Putin is going to be, where he's going to be, let's see, tomorrow. So they wait till tomorrow, and the remote viewers do it at the same time that they want to, like they say, where the task is basically to find out where Vladimir Putin is that very moment that the session's going on. We don't do that either, although I have been told that some people in the military do that type of things for tasking. What we like to do at the Farsight Institute is scenario 3. The target time is often in the past, although for the current experiment, it's in the future. The viewing time is now, but the tasking time is in the future. Meaning, the target may be the Eiffel Tower a long time ago. The viewing time is now, but the Eiffel Tower has not yet been chosen as the target. You actually wait 2 or 3 weeks after the viewing time is over, meaning after the session is already complete, and then the target is disarmed by some manner. Works great, having the target chosen after the session's already done. Now, Wheeler's delayed choice experiment is basically this. Multiple quantum timelines are possible, since it can be shown that 2 separate timelines can interfere with one another. The interference disappears if one of the timelines is observed or registered in some way. This is true even if the decision to observe the timeline is made after both timelines have begun. Look at the following. Let's say a military remote viewer views a terrorist event happening, a bomb blowing up. The session is given to an analyst. The analyst looks at it. Intel is sent out. They capture the terrorist and prevent the bomb. Well, whose bomb blew up? It was remote viewed. You have different timelines. So that's what we're experimenting with. The experimental design in our study does the following. The sessions were done between January and May. On June 4th, that was the Dow Jones. You see that 390, the last 3 integer digits? The last 3 integer digits of the Dow Jones closing average for Wednesday, June 4th, determined which targets were going to be assigned to which sessions. You see, we had a pool of 24 targets, of 8 geographical locations, 3 different time points, 2 for 2013 and 1 for 2008. We had 999 possible jumbled random combinations of which target would go with which session. This is one example. There were 999 of them. Which one of those jumbled associations we used was determined by this 3-digit number. It turned out to be 390, so we went to the 390th one. We found out that what target was associated with which session. That was done after the sessions were already done. And all of this was put up on the web and downloaded by tens of thousands of people, all encrypted, so no one could see it. No one could mess with it. The sessions are done first. The targets are assigned to the sessions by a truly random process after the sessions are completed and made available for the public download. Results are then posted with passwords to decrypt all the files after the fact. like in late June. The RV results for 2008 are now available at farsight.org. They are fully verifiable because the target times were June 1st. Here are the remote viewers. Session clarity scores show how well they did. A 3 is a really great session. That means very profound target contact. 2 is good, but some decoding errors. 1 means more decoding errors, more problems, and 0 is a miss. You can see that a lot of these targets were very well described by the viewers. They're all up for you to see at farsight.org. You don't have to believe me, my codings. You can look at them yourself and see how those viewers did. In the process, we wanted to look at our 2013 results. But we said, when we started to get the results in, it looks like there was actually some climate change in 2013. Let us get a target on the West Coast, near the coast. There's an easy target, lots of clear features, LAX. Let's just get that and try to skip forward December 1st, 2008, just 6 months or 8 months, and when we tested a few months in the future, so we can have sort of a calibration type of experience. We can base a baseline experience that we can judge our future stuff on. So we decided LAX, and the viewers were all sent out to look at LAX on December 1st, 2008. Produced a very interesting experiment for us. I'm not saying this is going to happen. Don't go out and saying Courtney is predicting anything, like a disaster or anything. I'm just telling you what the remote viewing results came in. The analysis is up on the web. You can see it more clearly, and how we did the analysis. It wasn't just a simple look at the sessions and go, ooh, ah. But the 2008, December 1st sessions for LAX, using the same viewers that did extremely well with the June 1st targets, that were all verifiable, and you can see the results as well, found no airport in December 1st, 2008. We used Darrell Smith as the best example of all the viewers. He happened to have all of his targets were really good, really perfect jobs. So we used his as an example. This is an example from his. And then we looked for remote viewing evidence that suggested that it was supportive. Well, what we found was a lot of supportive evidence coming through all viewers. This may be wrong, folks. There may be nothing that happens to LAX. This is part of another experiment. We're a scientific organization. This is just to see. We think we understand the remote viewing process. Do we understand it well enough to see to understand these results? So I'm just explaining what the results are. I'm not a government official who you can then hang because I sent troops into Iraq and the war was not right. This is a scientist, and scientists can make mistakes. But these are what the results said. Very clear dropping. This is just some pages picked out at random. Clear discussions of faulting. Grounds separating. Again, faulting. Outcrops. I'm going through this quickly because you know I have limited times. I may run into the question and answer period a few minutes. Other examples. Mountains in the back. But again, no LA in the sense of the airport. We targeted the airport. Other stuff. Compressed, bracing, faulting, slipping, destructive. He didn't miss a single one of the other sessions. They were really good, and you should look at them today. I got it. He said in his summary, like land under stress, under several forms of fast and violent movement, land which is expansive, the land feels like it's on the edge of something, or coastal. The land feels fairly flat and brown, earthy. The land is affected by movement which is violent, abrupt, and damaging. This movement does not feel fluid in its movement like water. And it goes on. He talks also about a downward direction. Now we go to Dick Algar's session. Well, let's see. A different methodology, a different viewer. Pretty good coastal line here. Garbage structures, closely grouped structures, all clumped together. Sense that land gives away, crumbles, fallen away, worn away. These folks should have picked up an airport. We're the Jets. They did very well with their other sessions. Tense, quickly arranged, Some buildings falling off, perched on the edge, sense of a police tape, taped off. People here, they can walk here, but they can't work here. They can't walk there. Sections cut off. Police tapes, do not enter. Areas you can't see. This is clearly, from these data, as I see it, the aftermath of a seismic event. It didn't happen in November. These people are very calm. If you remember a month after Katrina, the place was still a panic. These people are very calmly putting out things. It looks like the thing happened a few months before. Based on these data, and there's a more complete analysis, not a complete analysis, but a more complete analysis on the web, I project that the earthquake doesn't really happen in the fall, but it's more likely in the summer. Again, I could be wrong. There could be no earthquake. Let me ask one or two questions. The point is, though, that this particular example is a good example of a test that we can use with a particular event that cannot be influenced by humans. When we have events that cannot be influenced by humans, we have to usually manufacture them by encrypting everything. That we know how to do well. We just happened to drop into this one. So this is a very interesting scientific experiment to see if there is no seismic event in LA, even a small one and a lot of exaggeration in the remote viewing, whatever, then if there's no seismic event, then we will simply learn more about the remote viewing process. But we think we've got it, and so we now wait and see. It's an interesting test. Go ahead.
Thank you, Courtney.
That was fascinating and a bit alarming. I live near L.A. myself, so...
I'm sorry, you have to speak a little louder.
That was fascinating and a bit alarming to me, especially since I live near L.A.
It could be wrong.
Yes, I realize. I guess
I've had remote viewing misses.
My feeling about this is that the only other... one potential explanation I can think of that wouldn't be... the alarming possibility that this is a real prediction would be that it was the effect of suggestion to the remote viewers because of the fact that you as the experimenter picked up the, I should say, knew what the target was. And your subconscious expectations might have affected it.
That's such an early thing that had to be controlled.
How did you control it then?
The target is designed. It was designed by me. I told no one about it. I sent out an email to the viewers saying, there is another target. Please do it. It's number 25.
But they still could have picked up from you psychically that the real target was the LEA.
I actually, okay, well now you're using a psychic explanation to explain a psychic explanation. But what I would suggest, Richard, is that the theory is developed in my book, Remote Viewing, the Science and Theory of Non-Physical Perception. And then this is just one part of remember, I presented two experiments today. One were experiments where sessions were done to predict targets that were chosen in June. And that's verifiable, already done, signed, sealed, and delivered. You can look at it. And the question is, if they did that well, what about a target that's 6 months into the future? So you see, there's two parts to this. Even if we got the LA thing wrong, we've still got the stuff for June 1st, 2008. Correct. And that will turn your head.
A quick reminder that tonight we're having a panel on remote viewing, so these questions should be kept short, and there'll be follow-ups tonight.
The topic is predicting the future also.
This is Russ Targ talking about the future. It seems like you had an excellent protocol by putting your target choice after the description as a way of dispensing with displacement. In displacement, the person will often describe what the target is in the mind of the tasker rather than the actual target. Why did you revert back to the system that doesn't work so well for this target that you had so much interest in? I mean, this is a case, as the other person mentioned, where your excellent viewers have no trouble at all describing your excitement over this particular target rather than using the excellent procedure that you had just described previously.
This was a separate experiment, and it was done after the other 24 sessions had already been initiated. There was no communication verbally with the viewers. There's no way they could have gotten any sense of excitement. In fact, it was a rather boring tasking. I wanted LAX, and I wanted just to get some sessions of LAX for December 1st so that we could then compare the sessions for 2013, which were showing more dramatic change. So I wanted to say, you see, if you go out 6 months in the future, you're not getting so much change, and you go out 5 years into the future, you are. And when the sessions came in, it was a, whoa, this is different. You see, we have figured out how to predict targets in the future. But to do that, you must make sure that absolutely nothing can interfere with the timeline. That's why we encrypt everything. But a seismic event is just like that. No human can mess with it. I don't have to encrypt it. So if I understand the remote viewing process well, it should work. But maybe it won't. And if it doesn't, I'm back to the drawing board and we try to figure out what happened. But there was no communication other than email that went out, we have another target, target 25.
Speaking of timelines, we're out of it, and I think